Hi, everyone. This is the Coffee with a Geek program for January of 2019. This is the first episode of the year, and this is kind of we'll call this the polar vortex episode because we've had snow days for the past 2 days. So I'm at home in my son's bedroom, and the dog behind me may bark at any minute, so the mute button will be ready to go. With me is a guest that I'm really excited about, as always, and that is Shantel Scott, Dr. Shantel Scott, who is from New Jersey. And a little bit about her from her bio. She is a 15-year English ELA 7 through 12 teacher. She is also an instructional technology guru, shall we say, and you also do some professional development and talk about instructional design, technology, or training consultant. You've done Google for Education as a Google Certified Innovator for Google. And I know there's a lot more to it that you can expand upon, but you're a PLN Leader for ISTE's Learning Spaces Network. We definitely want to talk about that. And you're also a classroom game master, which is definitely something we have to talk about. So there's so much to talk to you about, Shantel, and thank you for joining me. We'll start off first. Tell us about, you have a favorite blend of coffee, or what's your coffee preference?
So I am in Central Jersey, and down here we love Wawa. So the Colombian coffee at Wawa is my favorite blend. It is only $1 right now, so how could you not love that? It's cheap and it's delicious. Love it. Yeah.
Tell me about Wawa. Is that like a 7-Eleven, or is it
Kind of like a 7-Eleven. It's actually a Pennsylvania-based company, so only South and Central Jersey and some areas of Pennsylvania actually have Wawa, but it sells sandwiches and coffee, and it's a convenience store just in general. Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dig into your background, and we'll start with your teaching experience. 15 years classroom teacher. Let's start there. Talk about your classroom.
So I've kind of always been an innovator. When I first graduated from Penn State in 2004, I walked into my first classroom. I was teaching 7th grade at the time, and there was no technology there. So the very first thing that I did within the first few months was write a grant. And I got a smartboard, and what else did I get? I got a class set of laptops, and it was all with the goal of being able to further engage students and really create a space where learning could happen through innovation of instruction. So nothing really has changed about that in the last 15 years. I continuously look for ways to do that, whether it's being a game master or even in my work as a Google innovator, which I'll share with you in just a moment. I always look for ways to innovate classroom instruction. And I think over the last 15 years, I've come up with some pretty good ideas that I'm really having a great time sharing with other teachers through trainings and workshops. And so, it's all about engaging students and, finding ways to do that and to update your instruction all the time. So that's what I do every day, and that's what I've been doing for the last 15 years.
So tell me about it. It sounds like if you're an ELA teacher, you would definitely want to connect with you. What are the best ways to connect with you?
Best ways to connect with me on Twitter. Twitter, quite honestly, is the best professional learning network for teachers that's out there. I am at The Learning Doctor on Twitter. Follow me. I've got some really good ideas about engaging students, taking risks, and of course, teaching English.
One of the things I left out in your bio, and I'd like to dig deeper into, because my personal interest as well is virtual environments and gaming. Are those elements that come into play in your class, or are those things that you kind of have been researching in part of your doctorate? Tell me about those.
Well, the subject of my doctorate was avatars, and using avatar-like people in your classroom environment in order to engage students and make all virtual learning a more real learning space. And of course, that was avatars really do play a role when you talk about gamification, because each student then becomes um, an avatar version of themselves in some way. So um, somehow the subject of my dissertation and the gamification concepts that I'm using in my classroom right now are kind of all blending together in this seamless and the most perfect way imaginable. And so I'm so excited to be um, to see how it's all sort of coming to life.
Let's come back a little bit and go back to your student days, and maybe that relates to where you are as a teacher. Can you tell me about your student days? What were you like as a student, and what kind of things about being a student brought the ideas of maybe gaming and changing the dynamic of your teaching?
Well, in elementary and high school, I was that kid, and not in a bad way. I was the kid that teachers really loved because I always did my work. The kind of person who prepared for tests and did my homework with my parents um, and just always sought excellence in some way. So that really is the kind of teacher that I have also become. I seek excellence within my students um, and even with the types of things that I do in my classroom. So for me, it's not really good enough to just do the run of the mill. I will teach Romeo and Juliet, for example, and just teach it in the same old way that it has been taught for the last 100 years. Again, finding ways such as adding these gamification concepts into my classroom to engage students and force them to think is in my opinion seeking excellence not only for them um, because they're really learning but also for myself. I want to be the best teacher that I can be.
That was really interesting, to think of gamifying Shakespeare. Have you done that, and what does that look like?
Well, it's really just about the concepts. So, for example, every day in my classroom, we do something called a random event. And a random event is this spontaneous little item that can happen at the beginning or the middle of the class, where we spin this wheel of events, and whatever pops up, is what we do. It could be that a student needs to uh, race down the hallway, or now we're taking a brain break and doing the Macarena, or whatever it is. And while that has nothing to do with Shakespeare, it does prime students for learning Shakespeare, because we all need those breaks. So random events are things that happen in real games, sort of just those things that the game master kind of throws at you. But it does prime students for learning. But also, um, we have the even just changing terminology of like how students are selected to read or to participate with Romeo and Juliet. We've got something called the Wheel of Destiny, where everyone's name is on the Wheel of Destiny, and wherever it stops, that's who is answering that question. And believe it or not, it's not so different from classroom instruction that has always occurred. But the students really get into the idea that it's the wheel of destiny and not just a teacher calling on me to embarrass me to speak. So that's the easiest way. The little things that or I should say, the most basic way that we've kind of gamifying any book or anything that I'm teaching.
That's great, and I like the way how you really kind of blend maybe their world with the traditional classroom world to make it more, I guess, engaging, to get them up and moving, which I definitely think is there's a key learning component to, taking that brain break and moving around and then coming back to doing some work. I think that's really essential. I think that's fantastic. Do you have again, with connecting with you, are there places that you can find some of your ideas?
I post a lot of things. When I say post a lot of things on Twitter, I really do. When my students are doing some really fun random event, I snap it and it goes to Twitter. It really is the best place to find me. And if there's more information, I will link my Twitter post to my portfolio. That if for whatever reason there's another idea that I want to share. So again, look for me at Twitter, at the Learning Doctor.
That's such a powerful use of Twitter. And again, I agree with you. That's one of the best PD places for teachers to get great ideas right on the fly. But it's also for you almost a place to chronicle your ideas and what's going on in your classroom.
Yes.
So let's talk about you're an innovator through Google. Tell me about your Google experience.
Okay. So I recently became, and when I say recent, I do mean really recent. So this just as of November, a Google for Education Certified Innovator, which is really, really exciting for me. So I was selected as one out of 36 people in the world to be a part of the Denmark 2018 cohort. So Google innovators are charged with developing a project that transforms education in some way. So my project is organizing the hashtag This Is Me campaign. I'm calling it a campaign right now because it's just in the beginning phases, but I do believe that it is going to be a movement as it picks up momentum. So what is hashtag This Is Me? It's an area of education that I feel is really missing. That direct instruction on how to maneuver on social media in such a way that does not impact a person's perception. So that's social emotional learning, of course, and just teaching students that there is a danger, a real danger in the comparison that happens on social media. The real self you're comparing your real self to someone else's highlight reel. So the mission of the hashtag This Is Me campaign, and I just took a note on it because this is actually the first time that I am sharing it out loud. So I just want to make sure that I share it right. The mission of the movement is to encourage people to embrace the beauty of their real self, eliminate the pressure of social media perfection, educate on the role of social media in the construction of self, and to elevate self-perception. So again, look for that to start gaining some momentum in the next few months. Um, the hashtag will also lead to, of course, a website where you can get more information on how to participate with the campaign.
Well, I think that's a really great idea as well as really timely, I think, because again, I think Twitter exploded, or social media in general has exploded so much. I don't know that we as parents or educators were really ready for all the ramifications that it can have. And so, again, students can get overwhelmed teachers can get overwhelmed too. And with, throw in other media that picks up on it. And even just, as a status symbol, I know NPR did a series on how, just posting on Instagram who are the people that like it or don't like it can be a really big deal for kids, and it affects their self-esteem. And how do we help them work through that?
Yeah. So I'm hoping to fill that space with educational materials, but also a very open campaign where people are using the hashtag, posting filter-free pictures or pictures of you actually doing your things that you do in your normal life. Things are just not so perfect, and then using the hashtag, of course. So hopefully that it will be something that fills a space in education that is missing.
I think that's great. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I just love its
Yeah.
positivity. So good stuff. I can't wait to hear more about that. So let's talk about ISTE. We met last year at the ISTE conference. It was great to see you. You tell us about your ISTE PLN, the
Learning space.
learning spaces. Yeah,
Uh,
talk about that.
so I'm a part of the Learning Spaces Professional Learning Network with ISTE. We basically offer um, uh, best practices really in learning space design, setting up classrooms that are future inspired and ready to set up the learning experience to prepare students for that 21st century learning experience. We actually, just a little promo at ISTE this year, have a session that's on Tuesday, and it's called Hop in the DeLorean. Where we're going, we don't need desks. So that is it. It's an interactive session that really talks about, not just talks about, but encourages participants to explore ideas for creating classrooms equipped for future-ready instruction. So it's a really, it should be fun. Yeah.
So one of the questions I bounced over here, and this is a perfect time to bring it back in the fold, is tell us about your vision for the future of education. It's a question I ask a lot of people, but if you had the power to change a school system and make it, your stamp, make it with learning spaces that promote learning, what would it look like?
I don't know if I would. Well, you know what? The Of course, I think that the design of the space is super important. But first, you have to really work towards changing the mindset of what you do in the classroom, and then design the space to sort of match that. So, one of the things that I see as a vision for the future of education is teaching a stronger emphasis on teaching kids to create, because as many people I'm sure have said and already know, um, we have no idea the kind of jobs that our students will encounter when they make it out into the real world. Quite honestly, my doctorate even is in instructional technology and distance education, a degree that didn't exist when I was in kindergarten. So who was to prepare me for this? So teaching kids to create will help them with whatever job that is out there. But does that mean that pedagogy and mastery of discipline gets tossed out of the window? Absolutely not. But a greater emphasis on creation. So, what does a learning space with a greater emphasis on creation look like? Well, it doesn't have desks in rows, because that's not the best way to create anything. So that the flexible seating, move those desks back. Some desks can be high, some desks low. Um, Outlets everywhere, and not just technology things, but every classroom equipped with with things that kids can create with. So whether that is it really doesn't matter what they're creating, whether it's something that uses technology or not, but thinking through that entire process and making the space I guess, a maker space of sorts, look like a place where people are creating things, that's where I see all classrooms going in the future, or that's the hope at least.
Yeah, I think if I made a word cloud of some of your answers, I think creativity and create would probably be one of the big words there. Do you think creation in today's age, and is that where technology really plays a great part for us, is letting kids create and maybe changing the dynamic of traditional instruction?
Absolutely. A a lot of teachers, of course, are using technology to do things that we can do without technology. But really, where technology has the greatest benefit is in the ability to develop things. So, teaching kids to code is teaching them a lot, or the development of uh, I can't even, there's so many ideas. I can't even think of all of them right now, but allowing them to use technology to create things that they could not do without technology is, of course, the best use of technology in the classroom. And it really helps kids to analyze, to think through a problem all the way through. Um, the whole idea of testing something out, and then even if it fails, starting again. And you can only do that when you're working on something that you care about and that you are creating.
All right, so tell me about your gaming mastery. This is the question I've wanted to know.
So it's the including gaming concepts in my classroom and being a classroom game master really has changed the momentum of my classroom. Um, you walk in on any given day and kids are screaming, "Is today a random event day?" They're just so excited to be there. Um, it's it Gamification concepts are good teaching concepts, and period. So what does that even mean? It means that that kids are getting badges for things as a clear indicator that of success. One of my favorite gaming concepts, of course, is allowing students a second chance. Um, if I were playing any game and I ran out of coins or all my lives were gone, I don't lose access to the game and fail. I can just start again. So giving my students a second chance to come back and do an assignment, or just whatever keeps them in the game. Um, Again, the Wheel of Destiny, um, giving students gold, because all games have gold of some sort. We actually, those are just the concepts that I use, but we do use something called classcraft in my classroom, where students are these sort of medievals, avatars, that they are kind of progressing through my class as. There are, I don't even know if they're medieval, but they're mages and healers and warriors. And, the kids have to work together and separately to get points and get badges and gold and, things like that. And class crafts. And it's a great tool with a lot of free, great things that you can use. Is the kids love it, and again, it really has changed the momentum of the classroom.
Yeah, I've heard really nothing but positive things about Classcraft, even the freemium version, which is always something to look for in a good, educational
Yeah,
uh, program. But yeah, I've heard that students really latch onto it. And again, it's not changing what you're teaching or the content per se, but it's giving kind of a platform for them to interact and keep track of their work, and to also do extra things such as collaborate on assignments and that sort of thing. So definitely give kudos to Classcraft. All right, well, it is time for the wheel of geek questions, the spinning wheel of geek. So these, in general, are short answer, just quick. Some may be whimsical, some may be serious, but you can take the question where you want. So I'm using my, what's the name
It's
of
a
this
bit of
app?
destiny, really.
Yes, yes. I'm trying to think of what it's called. I know I use Wheel Decide regularly, but oh geez, now I lost it. So, oh, here we go. All right, so here goes. It's on my iPad.
Okay.
And here goes our first question. We'll see how many we can get through.
Okay.
I really already asked this question, is if you could design your own school. So I'm going to
Okay.
go beyond that one. Okay, this is a good one. So what's your favorite way to unplug?
Okay. From technology or just
Yes.
in general?
Yep.
Okay. I am a personal care kind of person. So anything that gives me even 5 minutes to breathe and to reset is my favorite way to unplug. So that's yoga. I love going to yoga. It's one of my favorite types of ways to exercise. Um, uh, Spas, or I go to acupuncture, all giving me a solid hour every day to unplug and um, just think, really. So you don't always need technology or to be on a device. So just getting away from it with those things is the best way.
Have you been following the mindfulness programs?
I have, yes, I have. Well, not just sort of on Twitter again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. All right, let's go to our next one here. So who or what inspires you?
So that one is really simple. I do have to say my parents, and it's not just because I think that they're watching. My parents are they are forward thinkers, and they believe in service to others. And just to quote Dr. King, he says, anyone can be great because anyone can serve. And so that's my parents all the way. And so that's really, they are a huge inspiration and have a great impact on my life.
Wow, that's a great blessing as well. All right, so what is I think I know the answer to this, but we'll give it a try anyways. What's your favorite social network?
Twitter! Only because it really has transformed my career. Of course, I am on Facebook and on Instagram for other reasons. But when it comes to education and sharing what I love and learning from other people, Twitter is it.
It is. Are there any others that you use?
No, really just the big three, so to speak. Yeah.
Do you use Twitter at all for just personal interest, or is it mostly just education?
It's mostly just education. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I really try and limit that because when you expand beyond it, it gets way too overwhelming.
Already overwhelming. So.
Okay, let's go with one more.
Okay.
And let's do, what's your favorite tablet or, personal device?
Actually, got a brand new iPad Pro for Christmas, and it with the pen, and it's awesome. So I'm gonna have to say, even though I've only had it a month, it's a amazing device. And I, as an instructional designer, design a lot of things, and it's a great, powerful tool for that.
It is, and I got one for my son and he really loves it. And, I think the touchscreen device is going to be the trend of the future. I think if it already isn't here. But what I love about that is that it's going to bring back that tactile learning experience that I think technology kind of progressed away from, to, I think, a detriment, because I do feel from my own personal reasons that, actually writing things out and drawing and doodling and even with math, writing out equations and math to me is a learning experience. And with, the kind of, or it sounds kind of silly to say old school technology, but without those touchscreens, we didn't have those. And so I'm really excited about
The first
those.
app that I put on when I got was a notebook app, so that I could take notes with a pen and pencil, and keep them all there. So I completely agree. It's bringing back that tactile learning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the pen. Uh, I think again the key piece to that technology was it fluent. Did it act like a pen that you would have in the real world? And
Right.
I think you would recommend that the
Yes.
Apple works.
Yes.
Great. Well, Shantel, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. You're doing amazing things. I hope I'll see you at ISTE again this year.
I will be there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it won't be too far for you,
No,
Philadelphia.
right down in Philadelphia.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to come check out what you're doing and we'll connect there. So
Okay.
keep up the great work. You're doing such good stuff. It's so nice to talk to you and hear about your ideas and how you really are changing education. I can't wait to see more about your new movement you're starting on Twitter.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Shantel. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.